Hey, good morning, everybody. So good to be together with you guys for this devotional today. Today's day 4, if you're following along in the 21 days of prayer, YouVersion Bible devotional that we're doing together. And so I get a chance to share a little bit of encouragement with you this morning, coming to you from my home in Neptune. And so, one of the cool things about the YouVersion Bible app is that it gives you a bunch of different verses to read, and it also gives you that button that says read full chapter. So I just want to encourage you, like when you're doing this, to read one of those at least. Read the full chapter, get the context. And today I want to talk about Exodus chapter 4. We are talking today about relationships and God's plan for relationships. And if you go back and read all of Exodus chapter 4, God had called Moses to go and deliver his people from Egypt. And in Exodus 4, we see this whole conversation back and forth between Moses and God. And God's trying to convince Moses that he can do this. And I'm going to be with you if you'll listen to me. And so he does a couple miracles for Moses, which I think is awesome. The first one, he says, listen, when you go to Pharaoh, do this, right? He says, take your staff, throw it on the ground. And if you read it, it says it turned into a snake. And then God says, pick it up by the tail. And Moses is like, okay. He picks it up and it turns back into a staff. And it says, as if that wasn't enough, God says, let me give you another trick that you're going to use when you go to Pharaoh. He says, take your hand and put it inside your cloak. Moses does it. He pulls out his hand and it's completely leprous. And then he says, put it back in your cloak. And Moses pulls his hand out and lo and behold, it's completely healed. God says, listen, when you go to speak on my behalf, you're going to show them these signs and they're going to believe you. But what's amazing to me is that Moses was still afraid to go. I think, man, if God showed me those kinds of signs, I don't think I'd be afraid to tell anybody what he wanted me to tell them. But Moses was afraid. And so we see this conversation back and forth between Moses and God. And God becomes angry with Moses. Moses says, look, I'm not qualified. He was fearful. He had anxiety. He said, I know you gave me a job to do, but I'm not qualified to do it. So it says God got angry with him and he said, look, here comes your brother Aaron. Take your brother Aaron and he will be the spokesperson. You tell Aaron what I'm telling you and Aaron will tell it to Pharaoh. And then it says in verse 18, so Moses went. It's crazy to me that with all the miracles that God did to show Moses what was possible, what really helped him was the fact that he didn't have to go alone. The lesson for me is this, that the miracles didn't give Moses enough faith to go. The relationships did. It tells me that relationships are so vital to my life as a follower of Jesus. The truth is God has called you to do something great for his kingdom, something great today, and then in the big picture, something great in your lifetime. But he hasn't called you to do it alone. He didn't design you to do it alone. I was called to plant this church and pastor this church, but I can't do it alone. In fact, if I try to do it alone, I miss out and you miss out. That's because God designed us to do life in relationship. We say it this way at Searchlight, you can't do life alone. He designed us to do relationships, to do life with each other, not alone. Of course, you can do life alone, but why would you want to do life alone? We were designed to do life in relationships. And this is not something that Jesus didn't show us himself. He lived this example out while he walked the earth. He constantly kept his vertical relationship with his Father intact, but he also kept his horizontal relationship intact with his disciples. And it's an example that we need to follow. It reminds me of John chapter 15, where Jesus said this, and I'll read it for you. Verse 5 says, I am the vine, and you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. When I think about this, it's obvious that Jesus is saying he is the vine and we have to take care of that relationship with him. That's that vertical relationship. But what's cool is that as long as I, a branch, am attached to the vine, I am also attached to all the other branches. You know, in our backyard here, we have a ton of ivy everywhere. And you know how to kill ivy, right? You have to cut it off from the vine and then it will die. You know, that ivy could be 100 yards long all the way down the side of my yard. It can be completely removed from all the other branches, but as long as it's connected to the vine, it remains alive. You know what that says to me? That no matter how far apart we are, no matter how hard it may seem in this season where we can't be together and we can't hug each other and say good morning and see each other at church and in our life groups, as long as we're connected to the vine, we're still connected to all of the other branches, even though we may feel separated. Listen, can I encourage you guys, in this season, don't put your relationships on the back burner. Focus, number one, on your vertical relationship, staying connected to the vine, and then also reaching out and staying connected to the other branches. But listen, don't try to just stay connected to the branches without connecting to the vine first. Because no matter how you feel, how separated you feel, how alone you feel, as long as you're connected to the vine, you always have your connection back to all the other branches. Guys, be encouraged today. Stay in relationship. Reach out to one another. And we'll see you tomorrow for day 5 of 21 days of prayer. Have a great day today, guys.